All right, Shalom. This is your brother Nahal from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah, and a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Yahweh is the name of the one they ignorantly call God. Yahweh Shai is the name of the one they ignorantly call Jesus. Bahashem is in the name. Rakah is spirit. Kodash is holy. Akyam is brothers. Akwath is sisters. Shalom means peace, and Yasher Allah is Israel in ancient Paleo Hebrew. All right, and Israelites, the biblical Israelites are Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians, and their descendants that are scattered amongst all nations that may look like other nations, but their lineage goes back to Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans on their father's side. All right, now the reason I bring that out through the spirit and I preface this lesson with that is because the culture that our people have now is not our original culture. You know, being called black is not our original name. Being called Hispanic is not our original nationality. It's not a nationality. All right, let's go to the curses. So we're going to go to Deuteronomy 28. And I'll jump down to 37. All right, and it reads, "And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee." All right, when you go into the NLT, it says, "You will become an object of horror, ridicule, and mockery among all the nations to which the Lord sends you." And that's what we have become in this society. All right, now I want to point out something through the spirit, and it's inspired by this video here. You know, Lord willing, we'll go into it. You know, but it shows that a lot of what our people hold as their culture really comes from the Edomites. All right, and this is why I titled the lesson, "2/3 have become imitation Edomites." You know, and when you think about the scriptures and what the Lord said, let's start here. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 2. I'm going to jump up to 11. All right, and it reads, "Hath a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? But my people have changed their glory for that which doth not profit. Be astonished, O ye heavens, at this, and be horribly afraid. Be ye very desolate, saith the Lord. For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns, that can hold no water. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled?" All right, and I want to go into this because in the ancient world, you know, we were serving other gods as a nation of people. You still had the elect, you know, the righteous who were rehearsing the righteous acts, who were serving the Lord to the best of their ability. But you had 2/3 of our people who committed spiritual fornication, you know, by changing their glory to that which did not profit, and that was the worshiping of idols. Now, in the new age, in 2024, our people have new gods, all right? Gods newly created, as the scriptures say. And their chief god is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. And this is why they model themselves after him. When you look at so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American culture, whether it's the ghetto culture or the uppity culture, it's all an imitation of Esau, Edom. When you really just sit back and look at it and you really sit back and meditate on it, it's all an imitation of Esau. You know, the 2/3 that are in the corporate lifestyle and they, you know, feign themselves as being classy and uppity, you know, they adopt the uppity culture of Edomites. The hood Jakes, whether they know it or not, that culture stems from Esau, Edom. All right, and it's going to go into it in that video. All right, but before we get that video, I want to grab this. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and 2. "As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein." And 2/3, in essence, have been fashioned, if you will, in the image of Esau. All right, that's why this truth is so important. And the scriptures say, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." Because without it, you're bound to this chain. All right, this society has a chain about it. All right, now I want to go into Let me see if I can get this. So let's go into Sirach, the 10th chapter and the 4th verse in the Good News Translation. I'll start at Salakia, the second verse. All right. Sirach 10 and 2 in the GNT. It says, all the officials and all the citizens will be like their ruler. So that's what 2/3 of our people have become. They become like their ruler, and their ruler is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Verse 3 reads, an uneducated king will ruin his people, but a government will grow strong if its rulers are wise. And we're not under wise rulers. We're actually under the basis of men as the scriptures describe them. All right, so let's go into this video. I'm only going to get a few minutes of it, but Lord willing, this be edifying.
Much of the cultural pattern of Southern rednecks became the cultural heritage of Southern blacks, more so than survivals of African cultures with which they had not been in contact for centuries. Even in colonial times, most blacks on American soil had been born on American soil. Moreover, such cultural traits followed blacks out of the southern countrysides and into the urban ghettos, north and south, where many settled. The very way of talking, later to be christened Black English, closely followed dialects brought over from those parts of Britain from which many white Southerners came, though these speech patterns died out in Britain while surviving in the American South, as such speech patterns would later die out among most Southern whites and among middle-class blacks, while surviving in the poorer black ghettos around the country. For example, where a Northerner said, I am, you are, she isn't, it doesn't, and I haven't, a Virginian, even of high rank, preferred to say, I be, you be, she ain't, it don't, and I ain't. These Virginia speechways were not invented in America. They derived from a family or regional dialects that had been spoken throughout the South and West of England during the 17th century. From these same regions of England came such words as yaller for yellow, axe for ask, acrost for across, y'all for you, bile for boil, do for door, dis for this, and dat for that. Many of these usages have long since died out in England, though the word chitlins for hog entrails continued to be used in some localities in England, even in the 20th century, as such usage remained common among Black Americans. But no such words came from Africa, nor did the holiday Kwanzaa, which originated in Los Angeles. The slaves' custom of marking their marriages by jumping over a broomstick, a custom resurrected at a posh wedding among blacks in 20th century New York as a mark of racial identity, was in fact a pagan custom in Europe in centuries past, and survived for a time among Southern whites. Complaints about the improvidence of whites in the South and of their ancestors in Britain before that were echoed in W.E.B. Du Bois's picture of his fellow blacks in the 1890s. Probably few poor nations waste more money by thoughtless and unreasonable expenditure than the American Negro, and especially those living in large cities. Thousands of dollars are annually wasted in amusements of various kinds and in miscellaneous ornaments and gewgaws. The Negro has much to learn of the Jew and the Italian as to living within his means and saving every penny from excessive and wasteful expenditures. It was not, however, from Jews or Italians that blacks had absorbed their culture. Du Bois's description of the spending habits of blacks in the 1890s was echoed by a contemporary observer, Jacob Riis, who said that the Negro loves fine clothes and good living a good deal more than he does a bank account. Similar observations have been made by many others over the years, inside and outside the black community. For the lower socioeconomic classes among blacks, Gunnar Myrdal's descriptions of them near the middle of the 20th century still bore a remarkable resemblance to descriptions of Southern whites and their regional forebears in Britain, including less resourcefulness, disorganized family life, lax sexual morals, and recklessness, with tendencies toward aggression and violence. Despite a generally sympathetic approach.
So I'll stop there with this one because the point was made through the spirit. And you can see how the culture that our people have and they've adopted, they kind of briefly explain the origins of it. And it really goes back to Edomites. specifically those poor Edomites. And this is what Jake glorifies in this day and age, but really it's a cheap imitation of Esau. We bring this out often through the spirit. What Jake does to blocks, neighborhoods, Esau does to countries. Jake sells drugs in a community. Esau sells drugs globally. He has franchise trap houses. CVS and Walgreens, they don't close. Pharmakia. And Jake is just a cheap imitation of it. All right, this is Proverbs 12 and 26. It says, the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. And why is that? Because Jake likes what is appealing to the eyes. All right, our people have become simple in this society. All right, this is Proverbs chapter 16 and 25. And it reads, there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Because our people see Esau succeeding, doing his way, all right, and his way is a wicked way, and they model themselves after him in hopes that they'll achieve the same success. But as the scriptures say, the Lord putteth down one and setteth up another. Promotion comes from the Lord. It doesn't come from these Edomites. It doesn't come from what they've done. All right, this is Psalm 75 and 6. I'll start at 5. Lift not up your horn on high. Speak not with a stiff neck. For promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. But Yahweh Shemyahushai is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. But because our people see him in success, so to speak, in rest, they model themselves after him, and it's to their own detriment. That's why the scriptures say the end thereof is the ways of death. We're not meant to live like that. We're not meant to have a culture like that. And that's why it doesn't work for Jake. Jake is trying the same thing that these Edomites do, whether it's northern or southern kingdom. Because you have a lot of the Spanish-speaking tribes who try their best to model themselves after the Edomites, and they don't have the same success. Because the Lord sets up the promotion. The Lord set Esau up for a rulership for a point in time. And we have to wait until the Lord moves him out of the way. All right? Now, going back to the subject of our people adopting a culture that is not theirs. All right, let's jump down to verse 33 in Jeremiah, the second chapter. It's Jeremiah chapter 2. I'm going to start at 31. Nah, I got to start at 29. All right, Jeremiah 2 and 29. Wherefore will ye plead with me? Ye all have transgressed against me, saith the Lord. In vain have I smitten your children. They received no correction. Your own sword hath devoured your prophets like a destroying lion. Because the Lord has set up the prophets to say, stop. Because in time past, this ain't Jake's first time trying to be like somebody else. That's why they went off into idolatry, envying these other nations and trying to do what they do. Two-thirds have always tried to do these things. They've left the service of the Lord. They've left their own culture to try to adopt somebody else's culture. And this is what modern black culture really is. It's a modeling after Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. All right. Now, verse 30 reads, in vain have I smitten your children. They have received no correction. Your own sword hath devoured your prophets like a destroying lion. O generation, see ye the word of the Lord. Have I been a wilderness unto Israel, a land of darkness? Wherefore say my people, we are lords, we will come no more unto thee. And it's ironic, right, that the Lord, the fountain of living waters, is looked at by our people as a land of darkness. Brothers, beginning with our apostles on down, tell our people to go into the old path, right? Let's get that. It's Job 8 and 8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. And we, Lord willing, we be a part of that number. Our apostles and elders give our people the understanding of our old path, and they look at it like it's a land of darkness, like it's outdated, like the way that they're living is right, even though it's not working for them. Which is why the Lord said he has smitten us in vain. This is why two-thirds are ultimately going to have to learn this through death by pain, because this captivity wasn't enough to correct their behavior. Even in Esau's penal institution, they say that they deem a person beyond the point or beyond the ability of rehabilitation. You know, if they deem you life without parole, at that point, they have considered you someone who can never be integrated into society. Now, 2/3 of our people spiritually will not be rehabilitated. They refuse to return, so they're going to have to learn this through death by pain and then come back through the loins of the elect because they modeled themselves after Esau. Their whole culture is shaped around Esau. Them believing that they could get this position at a job or they could, have enough fiat currency to be considered a second-class Edomite. And it's to their own hurt. The only thing they do is destroy themselves by doing that. All right. Now jumping down to verse 33, it says, "Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways." And this is what our people have done. They've trimmed their ways to seek love, and then they still don't get any love. They've modeled themselves after Esau to no avail. It doesn't give them anything. They don't gain anything from it. And I'm talking about from the blue collar Jakes down to the hood Jakes. All of this comes from Esau in the sense of the wickedness. Now, Jake is the salt of the earth. So we do come up with our own styles and our own things. But this culture of just sheer violence, the destruction that our people do to their own community, that is a product of being cheap imitations of Esau, man. All right, real quick. This is Jeremiah chapter 6. And I'm going to jump down to verse 16. It reads, "Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths, where's the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. Also I set watchmen over you, saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet. But they said, we will not hearken." So here it is, the Lord set up our apostles and elders on down to tell our people, this is the old path. This is our actual heritage. This is who we are as a nation of people. And they rejected to be cheap imitations of another nation of people. Not just any nation of people, but the most wicked, the basest, as the scriptures describe them. And this is who our people have modeled themselves after, man. All right, because who you model yourself after, you become an image of that. All right, let's get an example of that. All right, this is Ecclesiastes chapter 30. And it reads, "He that loveth," I'll start at 1, "he that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end. He that chastiseth his son shall have joy in him, and shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance. He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Though his father die, yet he is as though he were not dead, for he hath left one behind him that is like himself." All right. And that's what the Lord has with the remnant. The image of Yahweh Shema Shah is being seen in the elect. Lord willing, we be a part of that number. But 2/3 of our people, let's go. Let's get the words of Yahweh Shah. All right, this is John chapter 8 and verse 44. "Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it." All right, so Jake, 2/3 of our people have modeled themselves after their father, and that's what Yahweh Shah was considering them. All right, he was saying, look, you're like your father, the devil. You're not modeling yourself after Yahweh Shah. You forsaking your own heritage to be like someone that is wicked, man. And this is why 2/3 of our people will not be pardoned for what they've done. All right, now I got a quick article, and I'll just read a few paragraphs of it. This is from the Spokesman Review. It says, "Ghetto slang has redneck roots." All right, I'm going to just jump down to the first 2 or 3 paragraphs. It says, "Black identity has become a hot item in the movies, on television, and in the schools and colleges. But few people are aware of how much of what passes as Black identity today, including Black English, has its roots in the history of those whites who were called rednecks and crackers centuries ago in Britain, before they ever crossed the Atlantic and settled in the South." Because you have to remember, during chattel slavery, the only example our people had outside of themselves was these Edomites that were in positions of power over them, whether it was the taskmasters or the actual plantation owners. So Jake looked at that culture and they modeled themselves after that culture, and you can see how it's evolved into today. All right. Second paragraph reads, saying across for across or axe for ask or are today considered to be part of Black English, but this way of talking was common centuries ago in those regions of Britain from which white Southerners came. They brought with them more than their own dialect. They brought a whole way of life that made antebellum white Southerners very different from white Northerners. Violence was far more common in the South and in those parts of Britain from which Southerners came. So was illegitimacy, lively music and dance, and a style of religious oratory marked by strident rhetoric, unbridled emotion, and flamboyant imagery. All of this would become part of the cultural legacy of Blacks who lived for centuries in the midst of the redneck culture of the South. Now, again, the scriptures talk about Jake being the salt of the earth. All right, so we are, the movers and shakers of culture, if you will. But it shows you that this is where our people created this foundation. Now, ultimately, when you look at it, all of these things, it goes back to the curses. And it's beautiful how the Lord did it, because the Lord said this in the curses thousands of years before we got over here. All right, it's Deuteronomy 28 and 54. And it reads, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. And it's beautiful that the Lord, basically through the process of time, gave Jake a culture, that really fueled these curses. Because the things that our people have adopted, killing each other without regard for human life, eyes being evil toward each other, it ultimately goes back to the curses. But when you deal with those Edomites that came over here from Britain, that dwelt in the South, that was their norm. That was their culture. So it all goes back to Yahweh Shem Shah, but it shows you, this just gives you a window into the process that the Lord used to bring that about. All right, I'm going to read that one more time. The third paragraph, that is. You know what? I'm going to read the second paragraph again, and I'm going to start here. It says, but this way of talking was common centuries ago in those regions of Britain from which white Southerners came. They brought with them more than their own dialect. They brought a whole way of life that made antebellum white Southerners very different from white Northerners. Violence was far more common in the South and in those parts of Britain from which Southerners came. So was illegitimacy, lively music and dance, and a style of religious oratory marked by strident rhetoric and unbridled emotions and flamboyant imagery. All of this will become part of the cultural legacy of Blacks who lived for centuries in the midst of the redneck culture of the South. And it's no accident that once Jake left the South and went to other regions of the United States of America, they took this culture with them. And it all goes back to, the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shah, but this is the process that the Lord used. And what you see today is 2/3 of our people who their deeds surpass the deeds of the wicked, man. Matter of fact, let's get that. So we're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 5, and I'm going to jump down to verse 28. And it reads, I'm going to start at 26. For among my people are found wicked men. They lay wait as he that setteth snares. And who is that? He is Esau. Esau is the perfecter. He's a cunning hunter at setting snares. Our people have modeled themselves after him, whether it's selling courses, all right, predatory lending, as Jake calls it, a finesse, from the drug dealing to the violent, all of these things, they've modeled themselves after wicked men. All right, it says they set a trap, they catch men. As a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit. Therefore they are become great and waxen rich. They are waxen fat, they shine. Yea, they overpass the deeds of the wicked. They judge not the cause of the fatherless, yet they prosper, and the right of the needy do they not judge. And this is why the people of our people who are propped up are mainly those who set forth this example, whether it's the rappers, or it's the athletes that don't speak on the issues that our people are going through. All right, these are billboards, if you will, to promote the same thing that our people are doing to each other, glorifying the lifestyle that our people have that's really a death style. And it shows you that Esau, in a very cunning way, has set this up like this. All right, so Lord willing, this was edifying. I just want to go through that through the Spirit. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasha Allah, and a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.